Okay, so we've learned how to solve a quadratic in many different ways. We've learned how to graph it and solve. We've learned how to factor it and solve. We have learned how to complete the square and solve. And we have learned how to use the quadratic formula. Okay, so we need to make sure we know how to do all of these things, okay, or at least one of them. You have to know at least how to do one, okay? You have to know how to do the quadratic formula. Okay, if you can do none of the others, if you can do the quadratic formula, you'll be fine on the test. Okay? Factoring is the easiest way to solve a quadratic, in my opinion. Okay? However, it doesn't always factor. Some quadratics are prime and they can't factor. Okay? So that's why we need the quadratic formula in those cases. Okay, we're going to do the first one because it does factor, and we're just going to review how to factor a quadratic function. So set 1, set equal to 0. Okay, you guys set it equal to 0. In this case, f of x just equals 0. So this is 0 equals 2x squared minus 9x minus 5. Step 2, factor. So again, I like to use my box. If you can factor a different way, that's fine. I think this helps me organize a little better. So I first want to find out what multiplies to the 2x squared. Where did I get that area from? So it's 2x and just an x. The next step is where I got that 5 from. Class, what multiplies to 5? 5 and 1, right? I'm going to put the 5 here and the 1 here. Now we're going to check. 5 times x is 5x. 2x times 1 is 2x. Okay, this is a negative, so they're going to be opposite signs. If I subtract 5 and 2, will I get negative 9? Nope, that didn't work, so let's try again. Okay, this time I'm going to put the 5 here and the 1 here and see if that works. So 1 times x is 1x. 2x times 5 is 10x. Now if I subtract those, will I get negative 9? Yes. Okay, we have to determine which one's going to be negative, the 1 or the 10. 10 needs to be negative to get a negative 9. If the 10's negative, that means the 5 is negative. The 1 is positive, that makes this one positive. Now that will work out because 1 times negative 5 will give me the negative 5, and positive 1 and negative 10 will give me the negative 9 in the middle. Okay, so my factors now are 2x plus 1 times x minus 5, and it equals 0. Any questions? Okay, step 3. This is the one that you guys forget to do. A lot of you guys will tell me, oh, my answers are negative 5 and 1. No. Okay, step 3 is set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So that gives me 2x plus 1 equals 0 and x minus 5 equal to 0. And now I'm going to solve it. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. You get 2x equals negative 1. I'm going to divide by 2, and I get x equals negative 1/2. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I'm going to get x equals positive 5. Okay. The solutions, oopsie, let's spell that better. We need an N. Solutions, x-intercepts, zeros, and roots are x equals -1/2 and 5. Okay, there's like a ton of different words we use to say the same thing. And you need to know all those words. Don't get hung up on if it asks you to find the solutions, if it asks you to find the x-intercepts, if it asks you to find the roots or the zeros. It's all the exact same thing. You're going to solve that quadratic. Okay, do not be scared by those words. Any questions over that? We're all good? Okay, so on our homework, you guys have your homework page. It's right here. Okay, we're going to do one from our homework right now. Everyone does number 5 on their homework. See if you can do that one on your own. Okay, yes, your homework is not online this time. Okay, your homework is right here. Okay. Also, I'm very kind and I gave you the answers on the back. So you can check your answers, which is something you should always do in math. Always check to see if you're right. Okay. Nobody likes to be wrong. I hate being wrong. I really want to be right all the time. And I am, let's face it, I'm always right. So I have the answers to prove how amazing I am. Okay. Or to fix the little mistake when I've added incorrectly or forgot to solve. Okay. So please do that one for me and for yourself. So solve by graphing. This is what we call standard form. There's also vertex form, which I hope you guys can graph in. And that's our f of x equals a times x minus h, the whole thing squared, plus k. And your vertex is h and k. Okay, hopefully you guys can graph in vertex form. Graphing in standard form is a little bit more complicated. Okay. When I graph in, when I graph in standard form, I have to find the vertex. It's not given to me. So I need to find the axis of symmetry. Which is x equal negative b over 2a. So in this one, the b value is 4. When I plug it in, it becomes -4 because it's the opposite sign, divided by 2 times the a value, which is 2. So that gives me -4. 2 times 2 is 4. So I get -4 divided by 4. So x equals -1. So I'm going to graph that right here. I go where x is -1 and draw on the axis of symmetry. Now I have to identify my vertex, my y value of the vertex. Any idea on how I do that? Yep. Very good. Plug it in. I'm just going to take the -1 and plug it in to my equation. So let's plug it in here. So I'm going to get f of -1 equals 2 times -1 squared plus 4 times -1. Any questions over that? Okay, simplify. So f of -1 equals, again, square first. Okay, -1 times -1 is a positive 1. So 2 times 1. And then 4 times -1 is -4. Two times 1 is 2. And then 2 times -4 is -2. So I go where x is -1 and y is -2, which is right here. So my vertex is -1, -2. Now I have to determine how wide or narrow my parabola is. So we need to use our a value. Okay, so a was equal to 2. We saw that right up here, 2. And we use our patterned rate of change. Does anyone remember the patterned rate of change? Yep. 1, 3, 5. So it's a over 1, then 3a over 1, then 5a over 1. So this is going to be 2 over 1 is my first step. So I go up 2 and over 1, up 2 to the left 1. Then I'm going to go 3 times 2 over 1. 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and over 1. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and over 1. And then this is my parabola. Any questions over that? Okay, they're asking us to solve this, not to graph it, but to solve it by graphing. So again, the solutions to a quadratic function are the x-intercepts, where it crosses the x-axis. So that's here and here. And we find what x equals. X equals -2 and 0. Those are my solutions. Any questions over that? We're all good? Okay, so now you guys are gonna do one in your homework. Let's find one. Do number 17. Okay, next way we solved quadratics was by completing the square. Yay, completing the square. Okay, so we're going to solve this one by completing the square. Okay, again, not all of them can factor, so your options would be to complete the square or use quadratic formula. So step 1, when you're completing the square, is to move the constant to the other side. So we're going to add 71 to both sides because that is the constant, the number by itself. And I get x squared minus 8x plus a blank equals 9 and 71 is 80, and then plus a blank. Any questions over that? Okay, step 2. Take half the b value so that's b over 2 and square it. Okay, so again, please write down how I do it, just so it's easy for you guys to follow along. The better you become at it, the less work you'll need to show. But in your notes, you want to show all of it. So that b value is -8. You divide it by 2. -8 divided by 2 is -4. Okay. And then you square it. -4 times -4 is 16. And then you add it to both sides. So step 3 is add to both sides. Any questions over that? We're doing okay? So that gives me, oh, now we have to factor it. Step 4 is to factor. Okay, the whole point of this is to make it a perfect square, a length and the width that match. Okay, so we want to factor the x squared minus 8x plus 16. Okay, so what multiplies to 16 and adds to -8? -4. So it's going to be x minus 4 in parentheses squared. If you're not quite sure how I factor that, okay, you have the 2 squared things. That helps you out. X squared and -4 squared. Those are going to be the factors. X minus 4. The whole thing squared. Then it equals 80 plus 16 is 96. Did I do that well? No? Good. I'm asking you to check my addition. Is that okay? Because even I add wrong sometimes, just so you know. Not that I don't know what 80 plus 16 is, but every now and then we have a mistake. Okay. Any questions so far? Next step, square root. Oopsie. Square root both sides. Okay, I want to get rid of that squared so I can continue to solve. So I square root both sides. So the square root means these cancel out, and I get left with just x minus 4 on this side. And I have to simplify that radical. Okay, so 96, I think 4 can go into that. 4 can go into 9, 2 times with 1 left over, so 24. Okay, 24. I want a perfect square that goes into 24. Yep, 6 and 4. So I have the square root of 4 still. And then this is going to be times the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. Okay, the 4s are perfect squares, so I don't have to factor them any further. The square root of 6. Does a perfect square go into 6? No, so we can leave it. So I get x minus 4 equals, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 6 remains the square root of 6. So I get x minus 4 equals 2 times 2 is 4, square root 6, and -4 square root 6. Remember, you need the positive and the negative side. Any questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, now we're just solving. I add 4 to both sides. And I'm going to get x equals. Okay. Are 4 and negative 4 square root 6 the same thing? No. Okay. We're not going to add them because they're not like terms. They would both have to have a radical 6 for me to be able to combine them. So it's just 4 plus 4 radical 6 and 4 minus 4 radical 6. Or you could use 4 plus or minus the plus or minus sign. Either one will work. But we have our 2 answers. Any questions over that? How are we doing? Okay. Okay, let's do one from our note or from our homework. To number, I think 1. Number 1. Okay, on Friday, we had lots of fun doing the quadratic formula. Okay, the first step here. The quadratic formula is probably the best way to solve a quadratic because it works all the time. Okay, you can't always factor, but you can always use a quadratic formula. So please, if you learn one way to solve a quadratic, learn how to use the quadratic formula. Very important. Okay, so step 1, set equal to 0. Okay, so I have to move the 90 over. I get 2x squared minus 8x minus 90 equals 0. Okay, step 2. Divide by the GCF if possible. Okay, this step isn't necessary. It just makes our life a little easier. Okay, it makes our numbers smaller, a little less work for us. So if it has a GCF, then divide everything by the GCF. If it doesn't have a GCF, then don't do this. Just look. Does 2, negative 8, and negative 90, can they all be divided by something? Yeah. By 2, right? Okay, so we're going to divide everything by 2. And that's going to give me 2 divided by 2 is just x squared. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4x. And negative 90 divided by 2 is negative 45. Oopsie, and I forgot to divide the 0 by 2. And 0 divided by 2 is still 0. Any questions over that? Okay, step 3. We need to find A, B, and C. Okay. Monique, what's the A value here? What number's in front of the x squared? 1. So A is 1. Okay. B value. Catherine, what's the B value here? Negative 4. Okay, and our C value, see, then must be the negative 45. Any questions over that? We're all good? Okay, so now we need to know the quadratic formula. Okay, we have to memorize the quadratic formula. And Miss Wong gave us a wonderful song to sing to do the quadratic formula. Okay, so we're all going to sing it here in a second. I'm going to walk you through it to remind us of all of it. You should memorize this quadratic formula. We're going to sing it a ton this year. Okay, All kinds of, as math 2 teachers, we all sing the quadratic formula because it helps us remember it. Okay, so I'll sing it for you. Okay, we're gonna bring some choir into math class, cross-curricular activities. It's always wonderful. Okay. So yes, you're gonna sing right now. Okay, so we're gonna begin. It's x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I loved it. Very good, very good. Okay, so that's our quadratic formula song. We should all sing it in just 1 second. I'm gonna have you guys write it down, and then we're gonna all sing it together. Now in choir, we all sing. Okay, if you choose not to sing as a choir, then you will get to have a solo. Okay? Yeah. So so if you choose to sit here and stare at the rest of us singing, okay, then you get to have a solo, and we'll be very proud of you and be very excited to hear you sing. Okay, so if you need to do some vocal exercises to get your voice right, warmed up. Okay, may me mamo moo, may me mamo moo, may me mamo moo. Right, this is all just so you know. If you're not in choir, you're missing out on all these wonderful. Oh, they do like red leather, yellow leather, red, like that. Yeah, see, all these wonderful things to get our mouths ready to sing. Okay, I know, it's great. So now you get to have a little choir if you've never been in choir, you guys. Isn't that nice of me? Okay, just helping you out. Okay, so we're all gonna sing it. All of us, you have the words right in front of you. Okay, again, I want to see some movement of the mouth. Okay, so I don't have to have any solos. Okay, ready? Everybody together, ready? And x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Very good, very good. Oh my goodness, you guys, that was so amazing. I'm so excited. That was our first time and it was so good. Okay, we're gonna do it one more time to make sure we've got this. Okay, I get to practice my conducting. It's amazing, I love it. Okay, ready? And begin. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Very good. Oh, this is amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, we should probably take this on tour. We can go to sing it to different classes and just inspire all the wonderful math classes with our amazing voices. Not right now, because we have to finish. We have to make sure we can use it. Because although it's wonderful that you now all can sing it very well, we also need to make sure we can use it. No, because we can't do that right now. They're doing financial algebra right now too. Okay, so we're gonna plug it in. So that's what we're gonna do right here. I'm gonna have x equals negative b. When I plug negative 4 into negative b, it becomes positive 4. Plus or minus the square root. B squared, so that's negative 4, and then I square it, minus 4 times my a value, which is 1, times my c value, which is negative 45, and it's all over 2 times a, which is 1. Any questions over that? Okay, so from there, we have 4 plus or minus the square root. Negative 4 squared is 16. Okay, this is the spot we're going to make some mistakes. This is all multiplication. So you do negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 45 is a big number. 180. Okay, a negative times a negative makes this positive, not yellow. That did not help. It is a positive 180. Okay, the mistakes that you're going to make is you're going to forget to change that sign. You're going to keep it negative or something like that. So please double check when you multiply that all together, what your answer is. And again, it's multiplying 4 times 1 times 45. You're not adding and subtracting anything there. Okay, that gives me 4 plus or minus the square root. 16 plus 180 is 196 all over 2. Just in case you didn't know, the square root of 196 is 14. So we have 4 plus or minus 14 over 2. Now I have to split that apart. I have to have 4 plus 14 over 2 and 4 minus 14 all over 2. That's going to give me x equals 4 plus 14 is 18 divided by 2. And 4 minus 14 is negative 10 divided by 2. Yes. We're dividing it now. I'm going to keep going. So that's going to give me x equals 18 divided by 2 is 9. And negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. X equals 9 and negative 5. Any questions over that? We're good? Okay, we're going to try one in our homework now. Let's see what number. Let's go to number 13. Okay. Okay, back up here. So we did a quadratic formula. Now we're going to solve a systems of equations. Okay. Systems of equation where you have two equations that are equal to each other. So in this case, we're going to solve these two. We're going to set them equal to each other. Okay, we're going to set them equal to each other. So that gives me negative 3x squared plus x plus 4 is equal to 4x minus 2. Okay, now you have this, it's a quadratic function, so it needs to be set equal to 0. So I'm going to move the 4x over. I'm going to add the 2. So it gives me negative 3x squared minus 3x plus 6 equaling, these will cancel out and I get 0. Okay. I like to factor, like I said. You may not like to factor, in which case you can use the quadratic formula here, okay, to solve this. If you really want to, you can complete the square, okay? Or, yeah, those are your options, okay? I'm going to factor out the GCF. Okay. What can they all three be divided by? It should be a negative 3 because that first term is negative. That first term is negative. The GCF is also negative. So we're going to divide everything by negative 3. Negative divided by negative makes it a positive x squared. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is a positive x. 6 divided by negative 3 is a negative 2. And 0 divided by anything is 0. Okay, I'm going to factor now. Okay, you guys factor that for me. Find my two factors. Of course. Thank you. Okay, Joel, did you get my factors? Did you get the factors?
Yeah, I got x plus 2 and x minus 1.
Very good. Okay, so my factors are x minus 1 equaling 0, and then x plus 2 I have to set equal to 0. Sorry, let me try that again. So step 5 is to solve for x. Okay, so I get x equals 1 and negative 2. Okay, that's not it. Because we are, usually when we solve a quadratic, if you were just solving a quadratic, we'd be looking for the x-intercepts, where it crosses the x-axis, and our y value is automatically 0. In this case, we're looking where two graphs intersect. We have a parabola and a linear equation that intersect. We need to know what the y values are then. Okay, so step 6, we have an extra step here. Find y by plugging in both x values. Okay, solve for y. This is a y, just so, by plugging in both x values. So I'm going to take these x values that I found. I'm going to plug them into the bottom equation. It doesn't matter which equation you use. Pick the one that's easiest to deal with. Okay, the top one has a quadratic. It's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to use the linear function. Okay, so I'm going to get g. I'm going to plug in 1 first. Of 1 equals 4 times 1 minus 2. So g of 1 is going to equal 4 minus 2. G of 1 equals 2. So my solution is 1, 2. That's one place where the two graphs intersect. We're going to do the same thing now, but with the negative 2. So I'm going to have g of negative 2 equals 4 times negative 2 minus 2. So g of negative 2 equals negative 8 minus 2. So g of negative 2 equals negative 10. So my other ordered pair is at negative 2 and negative 10. Any questions over that? Okay, so you're going to do another problem out of your homework. Number 21. Okay, we're gonna find, it says find where f of x equals g of x. So you have your two equations that are graphed for you, and what you're just looking for. Any systems of equations, what you're looking for is where they intersect. Okay, and that's gonna be right here. Okay, and you can see the x value there is at 2, and the y value is at negative 12. So your solution is 2 for x and negative 12 for y. That's it. Okay. Any questions over that? Okay, I have a few more minutes. You guys can continue working on your homework.